Welcome back. We are on to the next signature, and it will be for this page. So this is considered signature number 3. And we're going to start with this as the base page. The reverse side of this has this image, which is really kind of a cool image, but I'm not using it. And our measurements are going to be 8 1/4 across by 8 3/4 in the height. And I need to erase my pencil mark up there. And then I have this piece in scrap. There's some wording over here, and then we've got the bow and we've got the icicles. And I left this, I think I trimmed maybe 1/32 of an inch off of this, so that this ended up being 3 1/4 inches. And then this would come in here like so. Now, from the A4 paper pack, there is this beautiful piece with the cabin. It looks like a wood fence right there, and then we've got some logs, mountains in the background, and I am simply going to put this to the left because I really like this assembly here and I don't want to cover it all up. And it creates a different eye focus, focal point. So this is what we're going to build together, and I am going to go ahead and get this down, and then we're going to put all the flaps on because I've got to make sure how I'm setting the magnets that they're going to be correctly placed. Okay, we'll glue this in. And before I do that, I do believe that this was a top piece cut because here's the icicles right here and here they are. So this was cut off the top just for reference. And then I'm just going to glue this in. And you can see I backed it onto some cardstock, and I just want to put it over here. Okay. So we are going to work on putting together all of our flaps. So if you'll bear with me, I have to take apart everything and get my flaps out here. And then over here, I'm going to stop right there so we can get these on because the next one's going to be a little bit tricky. Okay, so these are going to measure at 5 1/8 across by 8 3/4 in the height, and you'll have a 1/2 inch score. So that's just going to sit in here like so. And then the left side panel is going to measure at 5 1/4. Now these two were scrap pieces, rather large scrap pieces. And I didn't want to cut into some additional cardstock. I wanted to use what I had. So that's the reason for the difference in the measurements. Now you are certainly welcome to cut it down to 5 1/8 so that they're both the same. But having those two gone, we are right down, at least for me, we're right down to having very little of this craft cardstock hanging around. All right, now we're going to create 2 square flaps on the right side. These are going to measure at, let's say 6 3/8 across. Actually, mine's coming in between the two, but I'd rather have you long than to have it go short. So 6 3/8 by 5 3/4. We're going to place one at the bottom, and then we're going to have one across the top, and it's at 6 3/8 by 5 3/4. Each one of these has a 1/2 inch score and a 5/8 of an inch score. So it really depends. Now, what I'm using to cover these are these large cutout cards. So I'm trying to figure out which one I want. This is the one I wanted on top. So this one here will go down first. Now, I do want the hinge on the top of things, so I'm just going to sneak up to that 1/2 inch score line and pull that over. And then I'm going to bring this one in and then line it up to that 1/2 inch score line. There's going to be a bit of pushback from here to here because we've already got some bulk built in there. So I think I'm going to pull that back just a bit so I'm in between the 2 score lines. So that will allow this to come up over a lot easier. Because I want this one here on the top. Okay, so now we're going to go back to the left side. We're going to have a couple of panels over here, and I need to get these separated. Okay, so the first one that's going to go down will be at 6 3/4 of an inch across, 8 3/4 in your height. You're going to score at a 1/2 inch and at 5/8 of an inch. And we want that to wrap. So we're going to come just slightly over that 5/8 score line. And then the next one is going to line up right here. And I think I needed to round my corners if I'm remembering right. Yeah, I do. So hold on here just a second. Okay. So this piece is going to measure at 4 3/8 across by 8 3/4 in height, and you'll have a 1 inch, you'll have a 1/2 inch score line over here. And then this is going to mount here on the inside of this. So I want to line this up. And my intent is to put the magnet here, and then it's going to come over and it's going to sit here on this top panel. So I am going to get out my magnet. And then I'm going to cut a piece, square those up. And then this will fold over, make sure everything is square. And then it puts the magnet here on this one. So let's get back to the inside. I have everything laying around here now that's where it's not supposed to be. So that's going to go there. That's going to go there. This is going to go here. Okay. All right, so I'm using, to brighten this up a little bit, I am using this paper here, and on the reverse side is this. Now we're going to be cutting into this here in a minute because this is actually going to be the front of these two flaps, as you can tell by this. So don't think about turning it over because we're going to be using this side. Okay, so cut and trim, fit it in with glue. Now I just realized I did not make any special elements for this page, so you can create one if you would like to. I just thought of something. I wonder if I have another one of these pieces. Let me look here really quick. Look, I keep all my scrap pieces. No, I sure don't. But I do have this long piece, so it's just a matter of cutting another one of these. So what was this? So just in case we have forgotten, this was 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. So let's, oh, you know what? I don't have any spare cardstock to play with. Okay, moving on. So we will put this piece on the other side. As soon as I have some spare cardstock to play with, I'm not cutting into a 12 by 12 sheet just to get a 3 1/4 by 3 1/4 square piece. I'll create that, but then I'll come back and I'll create some diagonal pockets for this page. Okay, flip these over, and this is what we're going to use in here. Now, you have some in the A4 paper, you've got some of these circular items. We're going to put them in the center, cut them out, mount them, and then you're going to run tape across the back. And we're going to put them in the center so that you have a photo tuck here, top and bottom. I'm going to bring this down just a fraction of an inch. Not much, just a fraction. Because I didn't have any showing up there at the top. Okay. All right, so it doesn't really matter which one you want to. There were 3 of these. The third one was a clock, and I felt that these 2 kind of mimicked each other a little bit better, both of them being animals. So now I'm just going to eyeball the center. Let's get him positioned correctly. Make sure my tape's going the right direction. And then you end up with a nice tuck here and a tuck down here on both of these. Okay, so next up, we're going to stay on the right side, and we're going to cover the inside of these. Okay, hold on here just a moment. This goes on the inside. This goes on the inside. These 2 are the outside. Okay, so the large cutouts, I'm using this pattern and I'm using the bird. It doesn't really matter which one goes where, but I really love this color combination. Not that this isn't pretty, but I love this one. So I am going to glue this down. Be mindful of your score line. You don't want to be on top of it. Just snuggle up next to it. And then we're going to put this one in. Okay. So here at the top, I cut this out of the A4, mounted it onto cardstock, and I'm going to make a tuck right down here across the bottom. Okay, you know what? When I go to lay that down there, I can see just how uneven I cut that. Goodness sakes, Charlie. Okay, right there. And then we have a nice tuck in behind here without putting something committed on this beautiful scenery. And then down here on this one, this is the other one I cut out of, and I put the tape on the wrong end, out of the A4 paper. It says, the forest guides you deep within to find your soul to live again. They've got stuff over the words. It's hard to read. Okay, so that is on the wrong end. So I'm going to move it. Okay. Can I get this backing off without the tape lifting? Hooray. So then this is going to come down here and sit just like this. So again, we have another tuck. Now we need to move over here because I'm not going to do this yet. We need to move over here so that we can finish up this side. All right, so you should have this piece here in your scraps. With the bird, you've got some musical notes down here and a lot of wording. This is going to come up short. I need to round that corner. It will be short, but no big deal. From scraps, I pulled this checkered pattern out, and we're going to create a pocket down here in the bottom corner. And you're going to need to probably round, if you're rounding corners, you're going to need to round both. Okay, so again, this is the reverse side. It has the fox. I chose not to use this side because if it's going to come up short, I didn't want to cover him up with a pocket. So this is the side I chose. And because I've got a magnet, that's a crucial piece, I am going to tape this in. And I just ran out of tape. And I do apologize for the noise, but I've got to get some fresh tape out. Okay. I'm going to bring this down here to me just a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. Now I have some tape hanging over here. Okay, so our pocket that we're going to make down here is going to measure at 3 7/8 across by 2.5 inches. You're going to, now if you're rounding corners, you're going to need to round this corner and this corner so that this sits in here the right way. And then this checkered piece here. If I remember right, I did not have to cut this piece. It fit perfectly. Now, I wanted to use some of the larger animal elements in the fussy cut page, so I cut the deer out. And I'm going to place it on there. I'm just going to run a dab of glue up the antlers, the ears. Now, I need need to make sure that I can get all the images on here. There we go. Okay. So then let's go ahead and what did I do here? Oh, I must have, oh my gosh, Charlie. That was an absolute waste of tape. My goodness sakes. I didn't realize I had taped both sides. So what I'm going to do, if I can do it successfully, oh, come on, is I'm going to, if I can, well, I'm going to ruin it. I don't care. Let me just pull this. I was trying to pull the whole tape off so that I could reuse it, but that's just not going to happen. All right, so in your trimmings, you should have this beautiful piece. There's a bird here. I chose to cut him off so that I could keep this down here. So you can go ahead and trim this however you wish. Excuse me, I so apologize. Because we're not, oh gosh, I should have, well, it's going to sneak in there. I should have rounded these corners, but it's going to sneak in there, so it's not going to matter. So I left this the way it is because it's beautiful just the way that it is. But if you wanted to go and cut something small and create a tuck here, you could go ahead and do that. Now, this piece right here, we are going to use this pattern piece. Now, there are a couple of pine cones that were left on some of the pages, so I chose to cut them out. I permanently put them up here and layered them a little bit over each other because I wanted to break this pattern up a little bit. The reverse side has the little baby foxes hiding in the hole beneath the tree trunk. And then we're going to create a pocket. Now, we trimmed a piece, or are about to trim a piece, that has the woodpeckers, and it will be at the top of the piece. So you'll set your pocket and then come back and take the trim to make this piece. So this measures, hold on here, at 6 1/8 across by 2 1/2 inches. Okay, just in front of that. I have to lift that so I can see it, goodness. Oh, and I'm going to be right on top of a score line over here. I've got to shorten this up. Not sure how I messed that up, but like I said, I'm not perfect. Okay. Come off of there. I just need to take a smidgen off. And then I'll put this back in here. I'm trying to stay in front of this score line. And then we need to stay in front of this score line. So that changes the length of this piece. So if you're not verifying your widths, it needs to be right at 6 inches because it's got to rest in front of this 5/8 score line right here. and it needs to rest in front of this 1/2 inch score line right there. Okay, so now I am going to go ahead and put my piece in, because we're going to trim and cut the next page, and then you can trim and cut this. Okay, and then I fussy cut out the fox, put him on some cardstock, and I'm going to put him right here. So I want to put my glue here. Okay, so let's kind of close this up and I'll show you what I've got planned. All right. So we're using this piece. This is the reverse side. We're using this piece. These are like this. And then this is at the top. You're going to cut this first, and then you're going to trim these two out to fit these two panels. Now, in your fussy cut, you've got this image, and you have this image. So I have cut them out, and I've mounted them so there's a little bit of height, and then I fussy cut out of the A4 paper the word wonderful, and put it right there. So, oh, what am I doing? I need to put this down first. Okay, now I can finish. Okay, so this little guy. Now, when I trimmed him out, I really needed to pay attention to this bottom line right here, because this is a lot larger in the cut aparts page. So I wanted to make sure that I trimmed that so that it would hopefully look appropriate. So then you just take and put it right over the image that's there. And then the same with this little guy down here. I'm just removing the paper backing right at the moment. Okay. And then I had to do the same thing. I had to be careful with how I cut this bottom line so that it followed as best as possible that snow line. And then we'll put this up at the top. Now we're going to open this up. This one's going to go here on the bottom, and this one's going to go here on the top. And then here on the top one, I did cut out the little tag that has the flying geese on it, and I'm putting it down here as a tuck for this piece here. Well, let's put it on first. Now you can put this really any place you want to, or don't put anything at all, or change the tag. But I'm going to put it over here because I just don't think it looks right that this bird is flying into those birds. I want it to look like that the geese are coming in off whatever this is, a river or a lake down here. So I'm going to run skinny tape across the bottom and the right side. So if you want to put a photo in here on it, or memorabilia in here, you can. All right. Now we're going to tape this one. Magnet. I'm going to move that. I've got way too big of a gap down here, not very much up there, so I'm going to move this because I can. Let's divide that a little bit better. There we go. And now it's moving around. Okay, so there we have it. Got our little critters here up front. We've got our pocket here. We have a nice pocket here, an embellishment. And then we've got a tuck here, here, here. Some photo tucks, top and bottom. And then I am going to come in when I get some. These are gonna, I'm cutting mine, these will be 3 1/4 by 3 1/4, and I'm gonna put them down here so that we've got some corner tucks, but you still have a spot up here to put a permanent photo. So I will be doing that once I get some extra cardstock trimmed out. So let's turn it over and let's get some tape on this back side of this and get it in our album. All right, grab the album. And then this is going to sit in here like so. So we'll go ahead and get these 3 removed. And then I'm going to turn this way. Right to the edge, and then make sure that I'm not crooked when I lay this down. Okay, let's get in here and let's burnish. All right, we're done. I'm gonna hold that right there. Okay, there we go. Ta-da! All right, we will see you on the next one, which will be signature number 5, and it will go right here. See you then. Bye-bye. Or is that right? 1, 2, 3. Signature number 4. 4. See you then. Bye-bye.